Officials nationwide are pushing to defund police departments. However, during a law enforcement roundtable Monday, President Trump said his administration is pro-police and working to restore law and order in America. Here to discuss the latest calls to defund police is former Congressman Bob Barr, who is now head of the Law Enforcement Education Foundation. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be with you all.
In your latest Daily Caller op-ed, you slammed the report released by New York's Attorney General on police reform, saying it's part of an orchestrated plan laying the groundwork for a complete revamp of the NYPD in the image of the new left that's being openly pressed by George Soros. Talk about that a little further.
The NYPD, which used to be thought of properly so as the nation's premier law enforcement agency, state law enforcement agency, is being caught in a vice. On the one hand, you have the mayor urging the city council and taking action to squeeze their budget significantly. On the other hand, you have the state officials, the attorney general for the state of New York, Letitia James, who was one of those funded by George Soros in her initial election 2 years ago, calling to restructure the police, to take away the leadership of the police commissioner, put it in the hands of outside authorities, and to basically decimate the structure of the police so that they would be answerable directly to the citizenry in a way that would make it impossible for the police to operate as an organized unit.
And we know in Minneapolis, the mayor there, they said that they would not promise any calls to defund police, and then there was a large boycott after that. But many Democrats believe it will be safer if police department budgets were cut and allocated to a community-based emergency response system. As the president and CEO of the Law Enforcement Education Foundation, what do you have to say to Democrats who are trying to push that narrative?
If you follow through with this, if you gain power and follow through with this, you will be, on your hands will be the blood of thousands of citizens of this country who will be left to the mercy of gangs and looters and arsonists, as we saw in the recent riots. There's a time to sing Kumbaya, and that's at a church campground event. But you can't do that when you're talking about society writ broadly that requires a certain presence of law enforcement to maintain order in order for liberty to continue to exist. Our founders realized that. New York used to realize that. President Trump still realizes that. If you defund or significantly underfund the police at the same time as you take away their ability to run their departments, you will have the chaos across this country like you're seeing in New York right now, when murders are skyrocketing because of what's being done to the police.
And it also reminds me of the CHOP zone that was in Seattle, where police, they couldn't even go back to their precinct. And then we saw Mayor Jenny Durkan saying, oh, this could go on essentially into summer. However, that's been dismantled. But it leads to my next question, where police reform legislation has been a hot topic on Capitol Hill before the July 4th recess. There were disagreements between Republicans and Democrats on the best police reform legislation to pass. What would you like to see included in it?
What I would like to see included in legislation, and the Senate bill had a lot of this in it, is first and foremost far more money dedicated to proper training for police and to police salaries. This is primarily a local way to solve the problem, but the federal government can do an awful lot through grants for increased training, transparency, and accountability. What we saw in Minneapolis back on May 25th, I think it was, with the police officer who killed George Floyd, was a policeman who had apparently no training or knowledge of how to subdue an individual. What you need is good training, and you need the funds to the police departments that local officials keep cutting out in order to get good officers and maintain good officers. Police departments are losing good officers because local officials are not supporting them and are not paying them enough.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.